Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the channel. Welcome to Some Random Guy Speaks. I am your host, Tony G, and we're about to get started today. We're going to be talking about the National Guards that have entered into Chicago, the city of Chicago, and things. So we're going to talk about that very shortly. But first of all, I held back this morning talking about Charlie Kirk. I found out about the news yesterday from a friend of mine, and it's very, very devastating to hear that Charlie Kirk has been assassinated and that he's dead because of it. So we're going to talk about this a little bit, share my thoughts and things as well. So um, yeah, I'm just going to go ahead and dive right into it, though. People, you can always watch the beginning of the stream. I may do some recaps of what I talked about. But first and foremost, I give my heart goes out to Charlie Kirk and his family. He's survived by his wife and two beautiful children and things that they'll never see their dad again. Charlie Kirk did a lot for this country, his patriotism, as well as for the support of MAGA as well. He had a lot to do with changing a lot of minds or getting a lot of the younger generation, I'm talking about Gen Z, people that are in college right now, getting them to see a different point or standpoint other than just accepting far left progressive, far left liberalism and things. So Charlie Kirk, that's what Charlie Kirk was about. The one that started Turning Point as well. Very, very bright, very, very intelligent, very, very, and he didn't go to college either. That's the thing about it. For 31 years old, he was handcuffing people, boy. He was smoking them on a debate, you know what I'm saying? Because Charlie Kirk understood, what it meant about freedom of speech, which a lot of the far left progressives, now there's a different categories of liberals, but right now the most dangerous people, the dangerous adversaries that conservatives ever had to face is far left, far left, these criminals, right? These anti-American people. They've been pushing a different agenda, right? And their stuff is rooted in terrorism because we got Antifa, BLM. These are a few of these terrorist organizations that the far left progressives, right? These people where even your liberals don't really identify with the far left. There is a difference. And I'm actually going to start talking about that more. It's not just liberal, ladies and gentlemen. These are far left progressives, right? And this is one of the reasons why Charlie Kirk was a threat as well. Charlie understood what freedom of speech is, right? I mean, you can have a difference of opinion. We're not saying that you guys are supposed to be on board with MAGA. That's what the beautiful thing about being an American is about. Because you can have your freedom of speech, right? It's in our Constitution. If you don't know any other amendments, you should know the first one: freedom of speech, freedom of religion, and the freedom of the press. These are the things in regards to the Constitution that allow you to be able to say what you want to say, whether you like Charlie, agree with him or not. But the thing about it is, he gave everybody a chance on his platform. He was meeting the students, a lot of these Gen Z students there at the college campuses. You know what I'm saying? So he was speaking and allowing people to speak. Just like I will allow people to say what they want to say, it's freedom of speech. The problem is with the far left that a lot of people don't agree with, including liberals, they're too far over to the left. This is a progressive thing. If you notice, they have alienated a lot of liberals. They have alienated them because, again, they didn't know how to relate to this type of group. This group here is far too extreme, very dangerous. And I give it name me a time because you have what is it, BLM, Antifa, and these people that go out here and create anarchy. These are the ones that want to silence your speech. They want to silence your speech, right? They want to take your guns away, right? And then also and let's go further down before I go into the Chicago thing. But they also want to do this, they want to make sure, right, that there is no other rivals for what they have going on. They have weaponized what is it, minority groups, especially the black community. I always love using that as an example because it's true. They weaponize the blacks, the Jews, the LGBTQ community, right? Your feminist groups. This was all radicalized by the far progressive lefts and things like that. This was part of the plan. This was the plan that they did to divide this country up, to split this country up, and then to get more progressives to see their viewpoint, their actual viewpoint in life. And you have a small percentage of them that are following this far left progressiveness. It has no way in our society because once again it divides people in a major way, which can spark a civil war, which is what they really are trying to do. They like to be able to do this type of stuff on purpose. I see that I have YouTube censor our free speech. Charlie Kirk debated people that all he did, but he was so good in dismantling the arguments and rhetoric concerning transgenderism and violence in the black communities. They hated him for that. Exactly, exactly. YouTube censor free speech. This is what I just talked about. You said it right in the text. I hope people read that, and I thank you for the like too. I appreciate that. But that's what it is. We are dealing with YouTube censor for free speech. We're dealing with far left progressives that hide under the umbrella of liberalism. This is basically what it is. They have hijacked the Democratic Party. They have pushed it in the far, far left agenda, and you have socialism, communism. You got a little bit of everything in that particular group. And they have made these special victim people that made them feel like they were special victim people, like the blacks and the Jews and the LGBTQ community. They have put them in a category, right? And this is what it is, where if you speak out against, like I say, I'm not against. Here's my thing about it. For me, speaking out, I may not agree with the things in the LGBTQ community, but my freedom of speech and the Constitution says that I have a voice and I have a right to speak out. It's not hate speech, but you notice with the progressive left, what they want to do is that they want to silence people, right, that have an opinion. And really, they have made him a martyr right now because nothing is stopped. It's going to continue on, you know, because yeah, he was smoking with him. So you notice when you got an argument, I love winning arguments because when name calling is thrown out, that means I have automatically won by default because once again, they don't have anything to really stand on. They are the ones that have to defend. I'm on the offensive, they're on the defense. They come into these rooms, say what they want to say, and they don't realize that they don't have no idea about America, what it was built up on. They look at patriotism as conservative. And like I said, Charlie was smoking them. And that's why when I talk to a lot of college people when I work in college towns. I talk to a lot of them, especially the men and the young boys, I should say young men. A lot of them, because of Charlie Kirk, they see MAGA and they see Trump and so forth. They see it as a positive thing, and they because of Charlie Kirk. When I talk to them, I understand a lot of stuff they say now because of Charlie Kirk. Charlie Kirk was the one that started Turning Point. So I always love it when these people have negative stuff to say about Charlie Kirk, but they can't battle him on a debate because they will lose. And they were making them the progressive far left. I'm not talking about liberal right now. I'm talking about far left progressives, and they are the architects and the orchestrators behind. This is why Charlie Kirk is not here right now. They are the ones that were behind this type of stuff, ladies and gentlemen. And it shows what has actually happened. So therefore, when we start to really look at it, and I'm gonna go into the Chicago thing in a minute, but it's all intertwined with each other. Charlie Ben talked on this type of stuff. he talked about the freedom of speech, just like I have always talked about. When trolls come in the room, guess what grant them to say what they want to say? Freedom of speech, right? One thing about people on the right, we're not going to silence you for your freedom of speech. This is why I'm glad that Elon Musk bought Twitter. And now we got it's called X, where everybody, whether you are left or right or in the middle, you have a voice. You can get on here and say some of the things that you want to say. But as I said, when they have made these minority groups the victims and they have weaponized them, transgender has been weaponized. We already talked about this stuff before. The LGBT and all the rest of them have been weaponized, right? Feminism have been weaponized. The blacks have been weaponized for a long time. Jewish groups and so forth, they all have been weaponized, you know? And this is why some of them take on the ideology of the far progressive left. Not all of them, because even some of them can't even get behind this. They want to have same set, be able to go into the bathrooms, right? To my men that dress up like women and go into a woman's bathroom. Now, I've talked to liberals, and a lot of them can't even get with that because a lot of these people have children and daughters and wives and so forth. They can't get behind that type of ideology. It's one of the worst and one of the dangerous rhetorics that have been pushed onto the American society. And this is why we're getting this blowback now, because taking Charlie out, you let you know what the progressives are thinking. We don't like if he continues talking to the young youth and getting them to see a subcritical thinking, which I'm glad is back in the colleges where it should always have been. See, with the far left progressives, they hate critical thinking. They just want to love to remain to be victims. They don't believe in freedom of speech. They want to take your gun rights away. They say that the problem is guns. They say guns are the issue, right? So these type of people with this type of mentality, this is what they believe. And unfortunately there are people that buy into this, that will go out here and do this heinous acts of violence. You want to kill somebody, you want to take somebody out because we have a difference of opinion. I'm going to continue speaking out on this. You ain't scared nothing. Please believe that, right? So the progressive mind is a poison, sociopathic mindset. I said this before. They do not know between good and evil, right? These people are a serious cancer in America. And this is what we should be talking. More you content creators, you should start diving in deep. I went on some of these people's page, scrolled up and whatever, but they're not getting to the point. I get to the heart of the matter. It's a far left progressive. We're not talking about regular liberals here. We're talking far left progressivism. This is what we're dealing with here, ladies and gentlemen. We are dealing with elite sociopathic type of behavior is what we're dealing with. And let's just stay on focus and to stay on what it really is. All this other stuff don't mean jack shit. It doesn't mean jack shit. Everything else is for views and clicks. But when you get down to the heart of the matter and you start talking about what is really at stake, because there was a big division. The gap was starting to close, especially with Charlie Kirk. Take him out, right? Right? This is basically what it is. If you look at people that were assassinated, taken out, Martin Luther King, assassinated, taken out. Malcolm X, assassinated, taken out. JFK, Bobby, assassinated, taken out. Abraham Lincoln, assassinated, taken out. There's many other people and presidents as well of old that was assassinated, taken out, because they defy or dare to have a different viewpoint, right, than what the progressives have got, what they have going on. And they couldn't even deal with Charlie. Their best and their brightest. You didn't see David Packman and all them. They didn't want to challenge this guy because they know they would lose. Most of your loudmouth progressive getting paid by the dark money, They didn't want to see Charlie Kirk at all. They just stayed up on social media talking shit about this guy, but they didn't want to see him. And that's a fact. None of these guys didn't want to see his ass, including David Packman, which I can't stand. But they didn't want to see him. They didn't want to see this guy. The progressives run and hide. They throw rocks and stones, hide their hands, and act like they didn't throw it. But they hide under the darkness and under the cover and the banner of liberalism, claiming that they are for everybody, which they are not. They are a minority group, they always have been, that have been weaponizing the Black community, the Jewish community, the LGBTQ community, and feminism. And these are the organizations that unfortunately they have a lot of footing. And this is why you notice that your average Black person, it's starting to change now, but most of them still consider and see people in this country as nothing more than racist. They don't understand that the people that I'm talking about was responsible why we have problems in the so-called Black community with crime, violence, and drugs. And I'm not the precursor. We're about to go ahead and segue right into Chicago. See how I did that? Because it all adds up. I'm going to segue with this topic that I'm talking about right into Chicago. This is exactly what it is. Instead of fighting against the National Guards, there's a reason why the National Guards had to be called in. There's a reason. Like I said earlier, you guys been on my live, and some of you may be new, but I have always talked about how the far progressive leftists, we talk about sociopaths. Look at the profile of a sociopath, and these are the people, they have no remorse between good or bad. They just do not give a you know what. And they have pushed their agenda to divide the people in this country to get them to what? Fight amongst each other, like what's happening now. This whole Charlie Kirk thing. Look at the backlash of people that support that. Wish he was dead. That's the mind of a progressive person, a sociopath too, wishing death on people. I'm glad he was dead. They make it sound like Charlie Kirk was the reason why they're the situations that they don't like in their life. People always want to blame people, and then, I heard a lot of the rhetoric. I heard a lot of the damaging, dangerous talking points. You know what I'm saying? So the thing about it, ladies and gentlemen, is simply this. Like I always said before, they come in this room and try to troll, but I'm not bothered by it. See, and I'm going to tell you other guys, if some of you guys that are a MAGA or moderate, let the trolls say what they're going to say. I got mods. They're just not on here right now. And that's what they don't really realize. But I always gave instructions to let them say what they want to say. See, if it was the shoe on the other foot, I have been and commented opposing, instead of agreeing with people, I disagree. And what do? They'll block you because progressives don't like to deal, they don't want to smoke, in other words. They don't like to smoke. They can't debate, they debate in their feelings. When you resort down to name calling, that lets me know how childish you really are. You don't have the intellect, let alone to be able to constructively hold down your viewpoint if you are a progressive. And most of them are. They just don't even realize what progressive really means. They think it means liberal. It doesn't. Because as them being whiny, crying, especially the men, soy boy type stuff and soy girls, you know, they whine, bitch, and complain, but nothing good ever happened in their life at all. They think this is the way to go. This is what a lot of their parents have taught them to be the victim. Look at the Black community. Look how much of a victims that they are. They've been victim. They play being a victim. They love being a victim, right? In fact, the so-called Black leaders, they all had something to do in order to correct the Black community. They failed to do so. All they do is grift, and all they do is spread lies and hatred. And they're lucky that we live in America, because if we would have lived in any other country in the world that did not have freedom of speech and the Constitution, all those individuals would have been rounded up and executed. This is what they're championing in. They don't like opinions or people that disagree. They think they're the status quo, and they're not. They're the minority group. They always have been, right? And they lucky if they were in any other country to be able to speak like this, they would have been rounded up a long time ago. And we already know how it would have went. They would have been executed. Instead, you should be champion behind the Constitution instead of fighting against it. And y'all, and many of them don't even know these people that have adapted the far left progressive these people. Well, for instance, DEI, um, the other one, which is BLM and Tifa, they really think that they are saving the country when in fact they have been losing. And how powerful Charlie Kirk was, he converted and got people to accept critical thinking and common sense thinking. Charlie Kirk never had to resort to name calling, right? But the people on the left, I'm talking about far left, they resort to name calling because that's what they've been taught to do. They speak with their emotions, even with the men. You notice with men that are liberals, they speak with through their emotions. They don't speak how I'm speaking with common sense and logic, right? There's no screaming, hollering, and yelling. Now, if I get passionate, my voice sometimes elevate, but I'm well aware of what I'm saying. I'm cognizant. I'm understanding exactly what I'm saying. I don't have to go back and name call these people. Why? Because I'm on the offense, they're on the defense. When you're on the defense, you have to resort with the pushback. You have to resort with all this. This is what they're doing. And they have been failing with it. They don't even realize that they have alienated their own party. A lot of people that are liberals don't even rock with the far left progressives like that. It's too far extreme. They don't rock with them like that at all. They may not say it, but they show it in their actions. That's why a lot of them voted for Trump. They couldn't get behind that. Trump was a way better pick than what Kamala Harris was, to be honest with you. It's the truth. Now let's go ahead and segue into Chicago, right? Because this need to be talked about. The National Guards have already touched down in Chicago. You guys, many of you already know, right? This is the outcry from the Black community and other groups of people that wanted them to come in here, right? That's going to assist ICE, right, to deal with the crime, right, which came once again from the left party. We already know. So here it is. Trump said he's going to flood the zone with National Guards all over the place. First and foremost, you've seen these jets and stuff that's flying overhead. They already have a bead on what is going on in Chicago. They got intel, right? They already know on who they're dealing with and what they're dealing with. So therefore, this is why the troops have been deployed. Now, again, I've heard some pushback coming from some of the locals that think that they have a chance with the little weaponry that they have to be able to go up against a full-fledged military. And again, and I'm going to say this again, you do not want to go there. You do not want to do that. I will suggest, whatever little reasoning that you have left and whatever emotions, you may want to put that aside. Because if there's attack on the military, God rest your soul. I pray for you, and I'm saying this because they have weaponry out there that you ain't never seen before. And you don't want to go up against the military. It's going to be a losing war. It ain't even a war anyway. This is not even a fight, you know. But they absolutely believe because they have switches, which they can convert a semi to an automatic. And you think you got the might and the power of M16s and other stuff. You know what I'm saying? It's not going to happen. It's just not going to happen. So the troops are there, and they're going to, what their mission is? To oversee and to protect, to make sure that the citizens of Chicago can walk around in peace without being jacked, with no drive-by shootings. I dare them. I dare them to pull a drive-by shooting in front of a National Guard and see what happens. And they talk big and bad, but they're not really about that life, you know, because people go quiet and go dormant when the military, once the cat is around them, what do the mice do? They go hide. They talk shit on YouTube and all this other shit, but they ain't really about their life. They have no military combat training. They don't. They're not good with those tools like that. The military is. That's all they do. They're excellent with the tools. They're not. This is why when they do a drive-by shooting, they go ahead and hit innocent people trying to get to the target. They don't even know how to hold a gun properly. You know, this is just stuff that they do. Bunch of women that's in their feelings and their emotions. If you don't like something, that's tough. There's things that I don't like, but freedom of speech guarantee that. You ain't gonna see me going out here trying to take somebody out because somebody have a different of opinion than me. But going back on the military thing, man, yeah, Chicago, it ain't gonna take that long to get Chicago together. It's been a long time overdue. People can't go out to the Miracle Mile downtown Chicago to do basic shopping with your family. Got to worry about some old thug, some old wannabe gangster. They want to pull up on you, rob you, or take you out for what you got and everything else. You know. So this is why the guards had to be called in. You got the incompetence of a mayor, Brandon Johnson, right? He's a far left progressive. I want you guys to really understand what I'm talking about. Brandon Johnson is a progressive liberal to the far left. He ain't the only one. J.B. Pritzker, he is a progressive. You can see it. They much rather protect illegals in their city. They protect criminals. How you think a lot of these gang members got the guns? It wouldn't be no surprise if it ever came out. If it ever came, I'm not saying that it is, but I'm saying if it ever came out that these people, right, talking about governor and the mayor and all them, if they had a lot to do with why these criminals have the weapons in the first place, right? It wouldn't be no shocker. But Brandon Johnson and J.B. Pritzker are far left, very extreme, what we call progressives, very extreme. And this is what people should be talking about a lot more. You know what I'm saying? They should be talking about more about what I just was talking about. We're talking about J.B. Pritzker and Brandon Johnson. And like I said, now that the National Guards are there, it ain't going to be much of a fight. And they already know it because the streets are going to be cleaned up. Order will be established. Only body that's against that are far left, progressive, brainwashed, knuckle dragger, mindless soy boys and soy women that want to hold that stuff up. This is the rational. They can't even rationalize between what's right and wrong. Remember, I said before, it's a sociopath mindset. It's what a lot of these, what did I say, progressives. I don't even call them liberal no more. They are progressives. Let's call them what they really are, ladies and gentlemen. These people, thank you for the like, I appreciate it. These people are progressives once again, meaning that they are far to the left. And again, they're the ones that have destroyed the Democratic Party by being so far left, where your average people can't even get along. They can't ride with those agendas. You got liberals that will want a safe city. Who doesn't want it? And then they're over here talking as if they have done great work. I'm talking about the mayor, Brandon Johnson. Look at Laura Beetlejuice Lightfoot, JB Fat Ass Pritzker. You know what I'm saying? So these people right here, ladies and gentlemen, these are progressives. You know what I'm saying? One thing about me, I know I'm bad. You know what I'm saying? Tell me something that I don't know. You think you heard me with that? Tell me something that I don't know. I love food, but I also can tell the truth. I can take accountability of my own actions. Many other people can't. Go figure that. That's the difference between a person that is accountable and responsible versus a person that is not accountable and responsible. Brandon Johnson act as if Chicago, there's nothing wrong with it. We are just doing just fine. The President Trump is a bully. He wants to bring in National Guards to bring stability back into the city. That's a bad thing, right? What else do they believe? By him doing this, it's going to make matters worse. He's going to create a war zone. Many innocent lives are going to be destroyed. He's going to take away a lot of illegal immigrants that came over here. This is why we call it the sanctuary city. We are protecting these people, right? This is what they believe in. And like I said, if I wasn't MAGA, I still wouldn't be able to ride with that agenda. I couldn't do it because they don't give you anything to justify or win an argument intellectually. We're talking with logic and common sense, and that ain't the progressive. They speak with their feelings. Look at a lot of their elites and these politicians. They all speak emotionally, even the men. Brandon Johnson looking zesty. He speaks emotionally like a woman. You know, they speak emotionally. J.B. Pritzker speaks like a woman, emotionally. This is coming from men. Men are supposed to be the better ones when it comes down to accepting and embracing logic and common sense. And they refuse to do it. This is why they're looking like jackasses for the whole world to see. You got people in other countries saying how much a jackass these guys are. They want to protect the people in Chicago. Good luck with that. Have they ever protected people in Chicago? Look at the black on black crime alone. Murder here and there, homicide here and there. It's more often than you think it is. How is that protecting the citizens there? And then not to even mention, you also have the organization, grassroots organization that two black women started, right? Which is called Flipping Chicago Red. That group exists. You even have people on pop and culture. You got black female groups out of Baltimore, Maryland. Shout out to pop and culture. Shout out to you ladies. They're doing great work as well. They already touched on this stuff. You know what I'm saying? And for black women to talk on a conservative thing, saying a whole lot, that says a whole lot because a lot of them tell you that they were liberal. They said they lost they got out of the Democratic Party when they started seeing what the progressives started doing. Remember I said that? I mean, people that want to fight against National Guards and ICE and all this other stuff, there's something mentally disturbing wrong with you mentally up here. You know? They act like these people are that oh yeah, the president and anybody that share that viewpoint is bullying them. When in fact, the leftists, the far left progressive, have been bullying the whole society. They bullied us on BLM. They bullied us on what's his name, George Floyd. They bullied us on this on a lot of these other things that they've been doing. They have bullied us, ladies and gentlemen, on this leftist rhetoric, so-called talking points that's trash. And they would go as far as to take out their as a person like Charlie Kirk, they believe in taking out silencing their opposition. You notice with most progressive lefts, they don't like to debate. They speak once again through their emotions. This is why Gavin Newsom would get towed up on a debate, just like with AOC and all the rest of them. They ain't about that smoke. What they do is they sit and hide in places where it will give them a platform, such as the media, right? Mainstream media, to allow them to speak and have a voice. Ever since Obama had, let's say, weaponized the media and pushed propaganda, you know what I'm saying? This is why our society have skewed off to the correct course. We are going back to correctness, and they want to keep it off the course of correctness because we know with a lot of progressives, and I'm talking about progressives more so than liberals, you have to understand they have weaponized the black community. I'm going to say it again for those that didn't know. They have weaponized the LGBTQ community. They have weaponized the Jewish community. They have weaponized the feminine movement groups. These groups, when they get like that ADL and all the rest of them, you know what I'm saying? They have weaponized these groups and put them to be a watchdog, right? To bark out orders and do all these other things, right? to be in opposition of what's correctly right. That's why there's no place for progressivism at all. There's none because it's destructive, it's divisive, first of all, as well as destructive. And everything that they have touched have been destructive and destroyed. They do not build for the betterment of our society, they take away. Same stuff I'm talking about, the same stuff you probably heard from Charlie Kirk and people like him, ladies and gentlemen. You know what I'm saying? And I admit, I didn't listen to Charlie Kirk a whole lot. I tune into him here and there. But he speaks to a younger audience, which is Gen Z, and he has done great work with Turning Point and all that. He has been a success for the whole MAGA movement when it come down to young people. Because we have to understand your educational camps, we already know those are high liberal progressive training camps for young people from K-12 and college at one point. Now the margin was kind of narrowing in because of the things of what Charlie Kirk did. He wasn't even a college student. He was handcuffing some of their best and brightest. You know what I'm saying? They're the ones that went to college. He didn't. He didn't go to college. He didn't have no college degree. You know what I'm saying? To my Charlie Kirk, he did not have a college degree. But he would meet them on their turf just to have friendly dialogue and open debate. What's wrong with that? They wanted to call him a Hitler because he has a different viewpoint, you know what I'm saying, than what some of the other people. But when you don't listen for understanding and you listen with your feelings, you miss the whole show. And that's what it is with these far progressives. You can't reason with them. They're already gone because it makes more sense for the elites progressives to push these agendas, right? Because their mission is to bring the society down. But for some of you guys that are following along with these progressives, this is something interesting. They're getting paid to push this rhetoric and anarchy. You guys aren't. You are just a slave, just like everybody else. Whether you agree or disagree, I can sit over here and say, yeah, 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 rah, 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 for progressivism, and I guarantee I would probably have about 500 to 800 likes. If I did this shit for clicks and views, I mean, it's easy to do what it is. It never ceases to amaze me that there's more people on social media, on these TikTok and all the rest of them. They share what they think as a liberal, progressive mindset. This is worse than liberal. We're talking about progressives. Progressive mindset, right? It's total, like the ambulance here, a total totalitarian system. Progressives don't share power with nobody, no one. It's all or nothing. They already know what to do. They teach them. The radicals, I mean, I remember reading the books, what's that book, Radicals and all the rest of them. They teach them this stuff, not to debate with them, don't share, don't agree with nothing. It's all or nothing, all or nothing. This is where they're coming from. All or nothing. We either going to keep pushing this agenda and we're going to ride it till the brakes fall off. We will not admit defeat. We still feel we have a hold on or a lock on. I appreciate the light too, thank you. But this is their mindset, ladies and gentlemen. And they know that they have to reach the children. The children in these universities and colleges. This is where Charlie Kirk, and this is where he was best at getting them to accept logic and common sense. And these elitists, deep state included, they hated this, man. They know because you got to keep in mind how you think progressive started sprouting roots and spreading legs, right? It happened. It's already was pretty much there, but it happened under Obama. That's what many people don't realize. Obama divided this nation. It was him and his rhetoric and how they decided to politicize the news, right? People that know this is called propaganda in the news. And it was him that allowed this to happen in 2012, I believe. And this is why we started looking at from 2012 up until now. We've been dealing with this progressive stuff. Prior to that, I mean, Clinton had his way, but we didn't have this weird stuff about men being women and women being men. That wasn't even a thing before 2012. We had a thing that was called transvestites, but they wasn't weaponized and politicized like they are today. You got to keep in mind, it was after 2012. And this was the mission because they want this thing started sprouting legs and it started growing like mold. And this is exactly what it is. They are a cancer in our society, ladies and gentlemen. I'm talking about progressive. Far left is cancer in our society. And cancer, there's ways to destroy it. One way it has to be cut away to be able to protect the rest of the body because it's going to spread like weeds. And that's what they are. I consider the progressive left as a weed that need to be eradicated out of the garden. Let me explain. I'm not talking physical violence. Let me explain. I'm not talking physical violence. Let me explain. The way that we do is that we have to start telling the truth. We have to start showing and educating like Charlie Kirk did by who the face of the enemy of this country is. And as long as we can talk about it and identify who the boogeyman is, then we can go ahead and course correct. Then we can go ahead and proceed, as need to be, you know. And this is basically what it is. This is why the National Guards had to be called in. Here we are, because of their failed progressive leftist policies, lunatic policies, profiles of a sociopath policies, stuff that people just cannot wrap their head around and get behind. I wouldn't even try to get behind that type of stuff. I never had any problem with the LGBTQ community. One thing that we do know with these groups, they have been weaponized. Now they got them, they put a battery in their back. What do? They go out here and get up in people's face, getting confrontational. They act as if we are telling them or we're over here judging them, you know. They really believe when you become a special victim, and I'm gonna start using that term more so. These groups that I have called out under the progressive left, far left, these are their special victims that they have weaponized. And we have to start talking about that more so, ladies and gentlemen. All this other stuff, I mean, I have fun with trolls sometimes. We do the banter thing. But outside of that, we have to deal with the people, the orchestrators, the people that's behind it. The people that come in this room, they ain't in no power. They ain't changing shit. They try to be disruptive in my channel, but that's all they can do. And in fact, when they come in here and do that, it's called engagement. They make the views and stuff go up even more. And that's a beautiful thing about freedom of speech. Once again, you know. So if I get fat comments, shit, tell me something I don't know. I'm already know I'm fat. Tell me something I don't know. Nutty Professor. I like the Nutty Professor because he was smart. You know what I'm saying? So other than that, ladies and gentlemen, yeah, we're just talking about some things, talking about the National Guards. We shouldn't even have a such thing. If you look at it, Caroline Levitt, she did a press conference, secretary of for the for the press. She spoke, I believe it was yesterday. She talked about 20 cities, 19 of them had Democratic mayors, and she explained in detail, right? And Baton Rouge would be 20, but they got a Republican mayor over there. But she explained in great detail how these 20 Democratic cities, how they've been ran with crime, with riddled with crime, violence, and drugs. The Democrats, up to my far left, progressive, they have hijacked the Democratic Party. That's exactly what they did. So they want to pretend and try to do this Jedi mind control shit as if these 20 major cities around the United States is not riddled with crime, violence, and drugs. Trump is going to send National Guards to all those cities. It ain't going to just be Chicago and a few. All these cities are going to have National Guards in them. And already DC, as I said before, the mayor in DC thanked Trump. She don't got to agree with Trump, but when it come down to the crime, violence, drugs, gang activity, it has went down to a minimum. And that's what he's going to do to Chicago and the rest of them. Just wait and see. Because of the progressive left that try to do this Jedi mind trick. Oh, yeah, these are not the droids you're looking for. The Jedi mind trick is not working anymore. You take out your adversaries, like Charlie Kirk. You take out people that speaks up, that speaks the truth, that speaks logic, common sense. That's all I offer is, logic, common sense. That's mainly it. I can't try to make this stuff. They're trying to fit a puzzle that doesn't even fit there. That's the mindset of them. And they want to try to shout you down. You know what I'm saying? Look at their party. If many of you that are Democrats, liberals, you know yourself that you cannot criticize your party. The minute you speak out and start criticizing your party, you get automatic backlash. Versus the Republican Party, if you having a disagreement on the Republican side, you don't get shouted down. We try to talk and see if there's a resolution. Once again, common sense and knowledge and logic, instead of being shouted down and kicked out of the group, kicked out of the party. That's the mindset difference. Because, like I said before, they do not like any opposition, any disagreement, right? It's a total totalitarian system. It's either them or nothing at all. And this is how they've been running the party. They don't even understand why they lost. This is how bad it is. They still act as if they have leverage in this fight. They don't even realize that they have been defeated. By taking Charlie Kirk out, you are really defeated. This happened right before the midterms, ladies and gentlemen. Do you absolutely believe that the far left progressive agenda, you think they got a chance of winning an election after all this? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Because they don't want to listen to logic and reason. If I was on the left, progressive would say, hey, wait a moment. I'm not suggesting that they had something to do with it, but I'm saying if they did, I would have been like saying, you know what? Hey, wait a moment. We don't need to go there. I'm going to tell you why. Because look at the numbers and look at what's going on. We don't have leverage in this fight. All we have is the media, the mainstream media, and they're not doing a good job because they don't even have a narrative. They don't even have the leverage. People are finding out real information by going on social media and getting the information faster than what the mainstream media is putting out. You know what I'm saying? In fact, if you looked at their numbers and statistics, their viewership has been going down, right? Everything has been falling, ladies and gentlemen. They haven't. Where's the leverage at? Think about it. I don't see it. Do you? How is it that the progressive left they can't even win an election? But see, they don't like to talk about that. They go to name calling, so and so is a fascist, all this the type of stuff that um retarded like mental illness people talk about, instead of dealing with facts and logic. That's all I ever bring is facts and logic in regards to this type of stuff. National Guards gotta be called in, right? All this type of stuff. They are the ones that created it because of their failed policy from the governor, J.B. Pritzker, all the way down to Brandon Johnson, Laura Lightfoot, right? They're the ones that created this problem. They created this what we call conflict, Um, yeah, this is what it is. They lost. Let me see here. A Patriot veteran says no, they lost total control. Yeah, they did. I said that earlier. You probably came in now, but they don't have the narrative at all though. What's my mod? 100 RR. What's up, bro? It's been a while. Yes, sir. That's 1000 RR, man. That's my road dog right here, man. Long time no see. I can't. Sometimes I can't even see the mods. Okay, I appreciate you, man. I ain't ignoring you though. 1000 RR. Good to see that you're on back on as well, man. Omega, a lot of you guys that rock with me. I appreciate you. But that's the thing about it though, man. This is the thing about it. You're right. They have lost control. And when you go after Charlie Kirk, right? Charlie Kirk didn't harm no one. Charlie Kirk wasn't no racist. He didn't speak out about hate speech. He was actually for the Constitution. He was a better patriot than a lot of people that rock with this progressive poison ideology. He was a best example. He had a wife, beautiful little children, living the American dream. He did a lot. When I heard some guy on one of these, I ain't gonna call out his name. He had a small platform, but he tried to say that Charlie Kirk didn't really do anything. I had to make a comment and saying, well, what do you mean he didn't do anything? He have done tremendously a lot of things. I mean, this is a guy here that got the attention to a president, which was Trump. He was doing great work out there. We're talking about the young Generation Z, getting them to accept, like we said before, critical thinking. I'm glad to see critical thinking is coming back into the schools because the progressive left, they're the ones that got rid of critical thinking. They're the ones that hoisted the rainbow flag and all this other stuff, right? They put this above the American. They took the American flag down and put the LGBTQ flag up. This was lunacy. They hate America patriotism. I said it before. They stand on victims being weaponized and try to convince the rest of America that they were the majority when they've been a minority the whole time. They call us a cult, but they are the cult, right? They are the cult. They are the ones with the small percentages because we already proved that when Trump won the election. Yeah, we already proved that. Patriot veteran says, I'm so tired of hearing about people being racist. I'm a black man living in Arizona. I don't see it. Yeah, you're right. And I used to live in Arizona too, Patriot veteran. I stayed in Phoenix off of Indian School Road, and I think it was 75th, West 75th Avenue, I believe it is. You know the West, you know how it runs. So I ain't even got to say West Side. Patriot veteran know what I'm talking about when I say West 75th, uh, 75th Avenue. So he knows exactly where that is. But I stayed there. I know you do. And I stayed in Mesa. I moved in Mesa. Let me see. I was off of Baseline Road, not Gilbert, between Baseline Road and Superstition Highway 60. I stayed there, man. At the time, it used to be called Wood Creek Apartments. They changed the name. I visited Arizona last year. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, it's when I was there though, Patriot veteran. Yeah, I know you do. I got a friend of mine that live in Tempe right now. He's over there in Tempe, not too far from me. I went to school there in Arizona, and let me see what else. I was there back in 2000. And when I was there, Arizona was different then. People were starting to, they just were starting to migrate out there, transplant out in Arizona. A lot of people from California, yeah, you already know, Patriot veteran, you already know. And when I was there, the marketplace was not even there, man. Yeah, my friend lived in Maricopa. He lived in Tempe now, but I worked in Tempe. I used to work on South Hardy and South Hardy and Elliott. I was right there, man. Did hold on for a minute. I got to change my earbuds. You know. Yeah, I sure did. Going back down memory lane. Sorry about that. If I have no audio, I should have audio now because I got them connected again. Sorry about that. These earbuds don't last that long. But I appreciate the likes too. Yep, I stayed there for about 3 years. I do plan on visiting. You're good. Okay, thank you. I appreciate it. But yeah, man, I love veterans. Veterans come in my room. I got guys in here, special forces and other types of law enforcement and military and truckers and people that are farms that was ex-military and all this other stuff. So yeah, I almost joined the Marines myself back then. Me and my brother was just talking about that Patriot veteran man. I wish I missed my calling. I should have been in the Marines and stuff because that's what I was going to do. You know what I'm saying? But it's all good, man. In the next life, maybe I have time to have more sense and smarts to go into the military, man. Be, what I'm saying, the military things. But yeah, man. But yeah, but back on this situation we're talking about, bro. Yeah, man, this is the type of thing that that we're trying to make common sense out of it. And with the progressive left, you just can't. That's a losing battle right there. I don't even deal with those because they don't want to see me, man. They got smoke for people name calling, speaking with through their emotions, and it's sad to see men, especially black men, that I've seen on social media that behaves like women. Man, they speak through their voice like an emotional woman. It's sad, man, seeing this type of stuff. This is how bad that the progressive left tried to hijack this country, right? And they did a pretty good job, but I ain't gonna say they did an excellent job because it's been stopped. We stopped them by getting rid of woke. We stopped them with the DEI stuff, right? We stopped a lot of things that they were trying to weaponize, right? As I mentioned before. They have to understand Brandon Johnson, JB Pritzker, those are the ones that allow the National Guards to come into Chicago. Plain and simple. They did not want to comply with the orders coming down from Trump. You decide to go against a sitting president by saying, I don't have to observe what the president of the United States said. He signed an executive order. Everything that Trump been doing has been according and went by the Constitution, by the book. But the progressive far left, they don't go by the Constitution. That's why they are losing with these junctions that they've been trying to do in these Pelham courts, in these lower circuit courts and stuff they were trying to do. They've been losing on everything. They haven't been winning. They've been losing. Patriot Veteran says, I don't get these guys following this. Yeah, man. I mean, yeah, we never will though, Patriot Veteran. We never will. Because as I mentioned earlier, they're so far slanted to the left, they have alienated a lot of liberals. A majority of those liberals voted for Trump too. That's what they don't realize. They practically destroyed their own party. That's a fact. They destroyed their own party single handedly. And the people that follow this type of agenda, they're not getting paid. Some of them are. Like I said, I call out Dave Pacman and a lot of these other content creators that were getting paid by dark money. That came to the light. There's like a list of them. And one of these days, I need to talk about that as well. They have done more harm. They have actually sold out this country, pushing rhetoric, pushing an agenda, pushing a regime change in this country. And David Pacman and them, they have a lot to do with it. And I hope David Pacman can look himself in the mirror and how he have sold the American people out because he was getting paid like $8,000 a month coming from dark money. Thank you for the love and hearts. I appreciate it. Thank you. This is mainstream now. And I can't stand David Pacman. But people like him still have a right under the Constitution, freedom of speech. But let these far progressives talk about it. They don't like freedom of speech. Patriot Veteran says, why they don't want them in the cities, right? They will lose the federal fund. I was about to, yep, I appreciate it. Yeah, and I was gonna go there a little later, but that's cool. Yeah, that's exactly what it is. It's federal funding. What Patriot Veteran, let's go and dive in further. And I said this too. The reason that crime, this is what Patriot Veteran is saying. I want you guys to understand. The reason that your 20 major cities across the United States are riddled with crime, violence, and drugs and so forth, right? Because they get funding. Because the more out control things and shit is, the more funding that they can get from the government. But Trump ain't gonna give them shit. So where does that happen? If he's not gonna get the funding, He said, you know what we're gonna do? I'm gonna send the guards in, and that's the thing. Oh no, don't send in the guards. Oh no, don't send in the National Guards. We don't need that type of protection. But yet and still, these cities are still begging for money. And let's just be real. Your 19 major Democratic cities are ran by the far left. I'm talking about your mayors. This is why that woman up in Boston, what's her name? Wu? What, look how insane she is. You know? Most of your Democratic mayors follow a progressive, they follow this. I ain't gonna say all, but most. And yeah, what would it look like if Chicago was cleaned up like DC? What would that say to Brandon Johnson and JB Pritzker? They can't get the money. They can't get the funding, right? This is exactly what it says, right? They don't want the cities cleaned up. They can't get the funding, ladies and gentlemen. This is this sick, cancer, progressive, far left. I can't. That's like Patriot veteran said. We can't. It defies all kind of logic and common sense. It really does, son. In my eyes, it really does. It defies a lot of common sense and logic. It just makes no sense. Michelle Wu, thank you. Yeah, Michelle Wu. You know, she's a progressive. You can tell. Look at your progressives in New York. You got progressive mayors there, and you got a socialist, Mondani, that guy. Remember that dude? If they elect that dude, and I was born in Brooklyn, New York. If they elect that dude, people are going to see for what we know in New York, it's steady going down anyway. People are leaving New York if you haven't noticed. You know, they're leaving by the droves, just like California. These Democratic-led cities are eating themselves and destroying themselves because they do not have common sense and logic. They do not even want to come to the middle. We can't even get them to come to the middle. It's either far left or nothing. They can't come to the middle because, as a sociopath, we already know when a person can't reason between right and wrong, they have no remorse. They can kill at will. And I'm just saying in general of the mind of a sociopath. In the mind of a sociopath, they can kill at will, right? They can kill at will. They really can. And they have no remorse whatsoever of their own actions. No accountability, no responsibility. But it's always have something to say about never taking no type of shame or blame. They don't care about that stuff. It's about an agenda. The progressive agenda train must continue. We got to ride this thing down, and we're going to continue. We're going to continue on the same path. We don't know. We don't care how many people that they lose. Look at Lindsay Lee. Was she the one raising all that money? They screwed her over. She did very well. Lindsay Lee, she's a MAGA now. The Chinese American woman that was like what was she? She was the campaign crowdfunding organizer, raised all that money that you saw that the progressives ran through. They can get up here and pay Megan Thee Stallion and all these other people. They ran over the budget. What was it, about 1.5 billion? They ran all that money up. Everybody got paid, right? Patriot veteran says from Texas. No, who's from Texas? Oh, no, I'm not from Texas. I'm from New York. Yeah, I was born there originally. Um, oh, Lee. Oh yeah, Lindsay Lee. Yeah. Thanks. Yeah, she could be because I didn't even bother where she was really from originally. But Lindsay Lee, yeah, man, she's been doing a great job though. Patriot veteran, she's been doing an excellent job of going after new scum. This is another one, a progressive. New scum is a progressive. It's obvious. He's far left. Destroyed LA. That's why all the fires are happening. Do y'all really think, why should we be having all these forest fires? Patriot veteran, it goes back to his point again. We got to have the chaos so we can get the funding. Ain't they? I mean, they're still begging for funding now for shit that they have started, allegedly, right? But I find it quite a coincidence, right? That we can have these fires, right? Have these fires that's burning, burning, burning. We need more funding. It's out of control. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Land grab. Look at anybody learn from Maui? Same thing. Land grab. That's all it is. That's all it is. Uh, Deborah Rita, Potter says, "Hi, sir. Hey, Deborah Rita, how are you? Good. Glad to have you on. Yeah, hi, sir. Are you from Mali? No, no, no. I'm not from Mali. Do I look like I'm from Mali? Saying. I mean, everybody say I look like something from somewhere. Yeah, just good old American. You know. But at any event, yeah, man. So yeah, I just appreciate some of you guys come on though. We had a visit with the trolls. Shout out to 1000 RR, that's my mod. I missed his comment, looking into this sun, man. I appreciate the light too, as well too. This is cool, man. Because you know what? The more lights we get, it pushes the algorithm up, as you guys already know, and it allow other people to see what I've been saying. And I would like to see more content creators touch on and talk about progressive lefts. People are not familiar with who these people are, how they hijack the Democratic Party, and we have to start calling them out for what they really are. They don't hold a leverage, but what they still in control of is the mainstream media, unfortunately. Yeah, Deborita says, so does Americans are feeling good every time? Feeling good every time? Does Americans feel good every time? I don't say that we feel good every time, but I appreciate the likes too. Thank you. I ain't gonna say we feel good every time. We try to get better. One thing about Americans, Americans are hardworking people, you know, blue collar backgrounds, a lot of us, union workers, factory, manufacturing. This is what America was all about. It was about grit, right? It was about being patriotic, right? Hoisting up the American flag, right? These were the things that made America America. We have more patriotism then. It's starting to come back now, but that's what it was. That's what it meant to be an American, right? Um, Debrita says, "What about Trump right now?" I get to that in a minute. Give me 1 minute. Patriot veteran says, "I feel good. I work hard." Exactly, exactly. Because there's a reward when we work hard. We get out here and do what we have to do. I'm just on a break, but I'm about to go out here and do what I got to do. That's just how it is. Debrita says, "Sir, Trump. Oh yeah, Trump is not. He's not happy of what has happened with Charlie Kirk. We are in mourning right now in America because we lost a great patriot, which is Charlie Kirk. And I talked about him earlier today. I can summarize and say some of the things I talked about. But yeah, Charlie Kirk was not just a patriot, but he truly loved America. And he stood by the Constitution. Thank you for the like. I appreciate it as well. Charlie Kirk was a family man, had a wife, 2 children, young children, 31 years old. He never went to college, let alone a college degree, but he proved with hard work and perseverance, you can make a difference. He's one of the founders of Turning Point, I do believe. You know what I'm saying? He actually helped a lot of young people to accept critical thinking as well as the Constitution and as well as the First Amendment rights about freedom of speech. It was Charlie Kirk. Due to his success, he was taken out, which is sad. So right now we in mourning for a great loss. And had he would have continued, he could have been the future president. I could have saw that. Charlie Kirk, wasn't out here name calling people. He always spoke calmly, rational, critical thinking, common sense, and logic. That's what Charlie Kirk was about. He wasn't on this other stuff. He wasn't on that type of stuff. That wasn't him. Let me see here. Yeah, Patriot Veteran says he loved everyone. He did. Didn't have any hate in his heart. He sure did not. He didn't. Charlie Kirk didn't have no hate in his heart at all. So this is why I wanted to wait. I'm not going to go into, what they have talked about and found on the news media. It's too soon. I'm gonna let them do their investigational work and things like that. A person of interest doesn't necessarily say that they have found the person that was responsible. You know what I'm saying? It's sad that that has happened, but I'll just say that I'm not going to go further in detail. I don't want to get ahead of myself with what they got going on. But you said Deb Rita, yeah, you said Obama. What about Obama? Before I say anything, what do you when you said Obama, what happened with Obama? Because last I heard, I didn't hear anything about him or anything like that. You just said Obama with an asterisk mark next to it. Are you trying to, you know, I mean, you know, so yeah, you have to elaborate a little bit more, Deborita, about Obama. But at any event, yeah, like I said, we are on the, I would say we have the leverage, right? We control the narrative. Majority of the young people, thanks to Charlie Kirk, have been red pilled now. And once you've been red pilled and you understand that you're able to critically think for yourself, show discernment with logic and common sense, you will be unstoppable. Because you notice the people that come in my room, trolls and bots, all they know how to do is name call. They can't do anything else. And that's when I already know that I have already won. You know, if you can't defend your position with this progressive stuff, and right now it has offended the majority of the people, what I've been saying. Deb Rita says leverage. I know, sir, but why, sir? Trump again. Why? I answer that in a minute. Patriot Veteran says, my man, gotta go. I will catch up with you again. God bless you. You too, Patriot brother. I appreciate you as well, man. Thanks for rocking with me, man. Yeah, please come back on, man. I love the conversation, man. Got a great vibe and things. I always love talking to people that either lived in Arizona or from Arizona. But that's all right. Yeah. Deb Rita, yeah, you talking about leverage and so forth and Trump again. Well, let me explain to you again. And this is coming from the left. I'm talking about the progressive. I'm talking about the far left. See, I don't know where you are on the scale of things. It sounds to me, if I were to guess, Deb Rita, that you are more like a liberal, and you probably swing in the middle, is what it sounds like. I don't think that you're in the far left. Far progressive is what they are. These are progressives. I can't speak for you, but if I were to guess, let me ask you this question before I go any further. Would you consider yourself a moderate or like in between, like in the middle of liberalism? You know what I'm saying? Like a liberal? I'm just asking you that question. I need to find out which range you are at exactly, and then we can go towards that. And also, did you vote for Kamala Harris? That's another question I have for you. Did you vote for Kamala Harris, and are you more of a liberal than a far progressive to the far left? Are you far left, or are you more of a moderate? I need to find out which one you really are, Debrita, before we go any further. And while you gather your thoughts together, I'll continue on what I'm saying. Because I know you asked about Obama and then Trump, like why? Let me tell you what America see in Trump. This is why 78% of people, or 78 million people, voted for Trump. Let me tell you the reason why. Because they look beyond what Trump was actually saying, right? They look beyond the insults. They look beyond the attitude. They look beyond, how he trolled the trolls. And what they found out with his policies, I'm talking about Trump right now. Trump's policies, right? His policies was actually better for the country because Trump is a constitutionalist, first and foremost. Trump believes in freedom of speech, even though many progressives hate Trump, because he was the one that got people. Remember, before 2020, he didn't have the numbers of the support with people then than he does today. How is that possible? There was a joint effort of people that kept on consistently persevering and pushing through by speaking the truth, by being a patriot of this country. Let me tell you another thing that really was a selling point with Trump's success. When he said that I'm taking the power away from these elites and giving it back to the people, and he also said America first, that won people over. I never heard a president, a sitting president at that ever say America first. Trump coined that phrase. When he got attempted, when they broke in his big beautiful home out there in Mar-a-Lago, Florida, right? They went through Melania and Barron Trump's stuff, right? They did this stuff, right? This is the type of stuff without any type of warrants, and that's why those people that was behind that raid, they're no longer part of the FBI and all that. You know what I'm saying? They may be looking at some jail time too, I do believe. So I'm walking you down on all of the reasons why majority of the people, I ain't say all of the people, but the majority of the people that voted for Trump, they loved his policies. He was the one that showed America why the border, there's still people coming through there, even though Kamala Harris was the border czar. Biden said the border was secure, or he said that I have to wait. She said I have to wait to be, I have to check with Congress in order to stop the people coming in the border. That's what Kamala Harris said, which was a lie. Trump went on right on ahead and took care of business, did he not? So this is the thing. I'm speaking without emotion, logic, common sense, and also critical thinking, which is what the progressive far left do not have. Their arguments is not built on that. It's built on emotions. To say, listen how he sound. He sound like Hitler. That right there triggers you. To say that this man is responsible for racism. See, emotionally, I can control you emotionally. I can do the same thing, and I can manipulate what you're thinking by telling untruth and lies to get you on board to an agenda. And that's what the progressive left have done. Let me see what you said here. That Rita says, but I know maybe he is doing too much for this country. But what about other countries' relationships? Well, that's the whole purpose, Debrita, with Trump. He said America first. America was in disarray before Trump became the president. We were in a state of a spiral, a death spiral. That is an airplane term, meaning that when you are doing a death spiral, you have no control, the rudders are not working, you're in free fall, falling to the earth. That's what America was in because of the far left progressive party, right? This is what actually ended up happening, which means that America was on a decline. They did not want America to be strong. They didn't want us to be, let's say, when we're talking about education, they've been destroying our educational system, our what we call the justice system that's trying to be corrected. It was called an injustice system. Cash, they wanted to keep cashless bonds. This is why we have repeated offenders, because they make money off this stuff. The more times a repeated offender go in and out of the system, they can go back and say, well, we want to get more funding. It's a never-ending story with progressives. People on that left and the far left, this is what was going on. So that's why. But when we say that Trump, he says America first. This is the first sitting president we had in a long time that said America first. And now that America, he's right. We are the hottest country in the world right now, right? And what makes us the hottest country in the world, because we have a leader, a man that has backbone, that's not afraid to push and fight against the opposition. Remember, they had the majority control over mainstream media. I'm talking about the progressives under Obama, right? They also had control, right, of not just the media. They had control of the educational system when it was the Department of Education. That was a government thing. Look at the teachers union. All these slush fund organizations were under the control of the progressive left. They did major damage to the destruction of these young children today from K-12 and up. They were over here embracing transgender stuff, rainbow bright flags, and all this other stuff. They were the ones that pushed a lot of this rhetoric. They didn't like critical thinking in the schools. Anytime you challenge the teacher, what did she do? Back then, she would just kick you out of class, send you home, and say that you were being destructive. Am I telling the truth? This is not. America, we're supposed to have critical thinking in the class. We're supposed to have critical. You don't want everybody just agreeing with each other. But progressive left, far left, want people, everybody's supposed to be on their agenda. It is not working because the majority of people are not feeling that stuff. They're not feeling that BS. But what they're feeling is common sense, logic, critical thinking, because this is why Trump won. You have a lot of people that are critically thinking for themselves. They see the policies of what Trump has been doing. He stopped the border, the influx of illegals, rounding them up and sending them back home where they need to be. So therefore, they're not a plague on our society, living off of our society, leeching, getting subsidies and programs that Americans weren't even getting. They were giving it all to the illegals. And this is criminally wrong. But guess who was behind it? The progressive far left. Everything I could say, I could bring up their policies. They did more hurt and damage to America than the opposite. That's exactly what ended up happening. Let me see what else you had to say here. Deb Rita says, we all are three in all positions. Deb Rita says, I don't have any bad things about Mr. Trump. But recently, something happened with our own nation, with America. Yes, sir. Yeah, I know there's things that happen, but many people, let me go ahead and elaborate a little further, Debrita. Here it is, right? The main thing is that there was a divide amongst Americans. I'm in agreement with you, but it didn't come with Trump. It came with Obama. Obama is a progressive, far leftist. This is a known fact. Nobody lying on him because all you got to do is look at his policies. I can say this ain't no allege. This is actually a fact. Obama is a progressive far left, right? This is a known fact. With his far left policies and agendas that have divided America, when he put the LGBT, weaponized them with transgender and all that came, he weaponized that group. And it pushed us even further away from each other. It happened with Obama, right? And he also, the propaganda with the media, 2012, weaponized them. Have you kind of noticed when you're watching so-called mainstream news? I don't watch them, but the majority of them protect the far left establishment, which are the progressives. They have everything ill to say about who? The right. They want to call everybody far right. You got people that are in the middle that agree more with with the right and the far right. Now, I would say that I'm not far right. What does that really mean, far right? Because the last that I see, we got far left that's going out here, like BLM, Antifa, and these other radical organizations. They're the ones that have been radicalized. They are the ones that have been out here doing these mass shootings and everything. It's all coming from the left, the far left. You see what I'm saying? But they don't like people like us that can critically think for ourselves, right? And we can match their policies against the policies under Trump. It is like night and day. It doesn't come comparison of what's going on in the far left than what Trump is talking about. He always have been about the Constitution. That's why he's been winning. He's been kicking their behind on every level. They got to go to court. He want to sue. He win the lawsuit. They have to take it down. And we know what the left is doing. They want to stop him all the way up to the midterms. That's why you're seeing more and more of Obama or Biden or Clinton type of judges that are sitting right now that's throwing these injunctions and stuff like that and all this lawfare that they were doing. This is part of them protecting their establishment because they done lost the narrative. They don't have the narrative no more. But they figure that, hey, we control mainstream, and we have a lot of these judges and AGs that's in our back pocket, governors and mayors in our back pocket. That's the only thing they have left, ladies and gentlemen. That's the only thing they have left. They don't have anything else. They don't have anything else. You know, the people that get on these social media stuff, that's a small minority group of people. It's the same old people. Some of the names I recognize in other groups, other chat groups. They don't have anything that's solid with common sense, right? And logic policies. It's all on emotions, just like they did that whole pandemic shit. That was their baby as well. It wasn't a plan. It wasn't a pandemic. It was a plandemic with the COVID thing and all this other stuff. This is the nonsense of the far left progressives that we're talking about here. That Rita says, "Okay, sir, let's the difference the different differentiations between Mr. Trump and Mr. Putin." Hey, political discussion. Hey, how are you? You know, you know what, man? I mean, here's the thing about it. Putin isn't that that's still communism. The difference between the two, and you should know this, they don't have elections over there. They do, but let's just say that people don't make it long enough to battle against Putin. That's called a dictatorship under communism. And the people that are staying with Trump and how he don't, communism. Remember, we have a thing called the Constitution. I really want you to understand what I'm talking about. That Rita, the Constitution, this is the law of the land that we the people created, right? For the people, by the people. 3 levels of government and all this other stuff. So therefore, we don't have a totalitarian system. We are against that, not for that. Trump he got in there from election. You know what I'm saying? Thank you for the like. I appreciate it. He got in the position, right? Because he was elected, right? Think about that for a minute. There was people that ran against Trump. There was nobody offed. Can't say the same thing about Putin, but I do know this. He ain't the only one, right? I mean, there's people over there. Look at North Korea. There is no one that would dare go against Kim Jong-un. That's communism. What about China? China as well. They're not going to go. Xi Jinping, who dare to run against him? Yeah, you could run, but you ain't going to live that long, unfortunately. It's amazing to me that the far left progressives try to thread that weave and try to get people to say that Trump is no different than Putin when we got a standing constitution that works. I mean, but I get it on their end because once again, we are dealing with a whole different breed. I'm talking about progressives, right? Far left progressives on that far left side. And a lot of them are sociopaths. These are the people that should never be allowed to be in power. Look at the damage that they have done. And it continuously with the lies and damage. That's all I'm saying, right? Let me see what you have here and now go back. Deb Rita said, sir, communism is used to see everything. Yeah, um, sure, sir. Sorry, but yeah, but your tone explained. Yeah, I try not to talk so fast, but what works for America, right, is the Constitution. This is the founder and fathers set down what we call the Constitution. You know, this is exactly what it is. The Constitution of the United States of America. To the people, for the people, by the people. These people that are in government are representatives of the people, which is us. We have a voting process. This is why we want to go back to the paper ballot votes. Before the progressives took over the Democratic Party, it was kind of understood back then. With Clinton, we wasn't dealing with this stuff as much. We were dealing with other things. I'm not putting no rose petals on Clinton, but the party on the left have gotten a lot worse since Clinton, right? Gotten a lot worse. Gotten a lot worse. We're talking about progressive, the birth of progressiveness. I mean, it's been always there, but it's gained more traction, especially with Obama. And this is the division with people, right? So yeah, so other than that, yeah, we're winning the war overall. We have control of the narrative. And this thing with Charlie Kirk, with his assassination, they have made a very, very bad mistake. And this is why they will not win no future elections for what I can see. I'm not a psychic, but under the information that I explained about this far left progressive movement, the only way they can try to do is cheat and try to buy people off in order to win that election. But they don't have no footing here. They serve the deep state. Charlie Kirk knew that. This ain't just a regular election with a regular president. This is why we say that Trump is actually the greatest president in our lifetime because of what he has to deal with by cleaning up America and getting things back on track, taking us back to a Judeo-Christian society, which is what America was always on. America wasn't always perfect, but it's getting better than what we were before, where we ousted progressivism. We won the war with Cracker Barrel. Remember, that wasn't too long ago. They were trying to bring this woke stuff. Bud Light found out about it, right? Target found out about it. Jaguar, they found out about it, right? They all found out about it by going woke, going broke. We do not want this agenda to the far left progressives to sprout and spread more legs. We don't need that. We are taking and cutting those legs off, digging those roots up, and throwing them in the trash or incinerating them. And this is what you got to do with roots. Because if you don't take care of these roots, they'll start sprouting more roots. So we want to make sure that their rhetoric, their dangerous rhetoric, the people that were really speaking the dangerous rhetoric was coming from the far left progressives. They have a very, very dangerous rhetoric of what they were preaching and speaking. These people, your far leftists, your far left lunatics, The ones that think they're the elites, those are the ones. These are the people that we've been dealing with here. You know, Charlie Kirk was way above all this stuff. They couldn't deal with him. And I'm very, very thankful for having a person like Charlie Kirk. And there's other Charlie Kirks out there. In fact, all you other Charlie Kirks, I want you to continue on with Charlie Kirk's work. Go out here to these universities and keep educating. Don't One person should not stop his movement. If you love and care about Charlie Kirk's legacy, I would suggest that you guys continue on with the fight. Don't let his legacy stop with Charlie Kirk. Let it continue on in these universities. Let these universities ring freedom. Let these liberty, these most of these liberal universities ring liberty. We're talking about liberal freedom, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Let it all ring because we need more Charlie Kirks out here today. We don't need no more Obama people. We need more Charlie Kirks, right? You can be a black Charlie Kirk, a white Charlie Kirk, Asian. Race has no bearings on what I'm talking about here. As far as I'm concerned, if you support what's right, right? If you're on the right, you are all right. You support the president, you support Charlie Kirk, then you would support his legacy. Don't let this stop. Continue on this truth until this thing becomes second nature because it's the youth that we're actually going after. The youth matters more so. We all up in our age now, we have our time. The youth, this is your future. They understand this. This is why the youth was weaponized in the first place when they went into these killings. We call it the killing fields with the so-called Department of Government Education, which is bull crap. And unfortunately, I was in the killing fields, went to public school and so forth, right? But it's far worse today because at the time they were teaching all this woke agenda stuff, but we stopped that. Any school, any educational system that is caught teaching woke agenda stuff will lose their funding. We're doing exactly what the progressives were doing. How you think that progressives sprouted its roots? They did the same thing. Anybody that's not flying the rainbow flag, their funding will be cut off because they had a president that was pushing this stuff, right? But now that we have taken it back in the name of common decency, we have been winning and they've been losing ever since. And I appreciate the likes though too, ladies and gentlemen. If you guys can help me out, get the algorithm up a little bit further though, if you could share this with other people, because I don't see enough content creators talking about the progressive far left. This is what needs to be addressed more so. Charlie Kirk did his whole thing about the progressive left agenda. And you guys should be able to articulate it and explain what it is. We're not talking just about regular liberal stuff. We're talking far left, Yeah, you know what I'm saying? This is what we're talking about here. Let's read what you had to say. That Rita says, so, sir, is now that Constitution works. Yeah, the Constitution always worked, but they were trying to stop it. But it worked because let me give you another food for thought. The Constitution helped stop the mandates with the COVID vaccination stuff, right? We don't need mandates on top of the Constitution. We stopped that because they were violating people's, human rights, just like the freedom of speech. No sitting government could tell you that you got to put on a mask. I didn't wear a mask because under the Constitution. We beat that one easy. Just like you notice with the progressive lefts, they always have to push some type of mandate or some type of agenda in order to carry out their mission, right? But because they hate the Constitution so much, and this is what it is. I appreciate the Thank you, guys. This is the main thing, though, that we're talking about here, We're talking about what is right and what is wrong. We have a thing called the Constitution that many countries do not have. Now, let me go ahead and walk this down again. Well, I ain't going to walk it down. I'm just going to say what it really is. Our rights are not given to us by the government. Our rights come from the people, and it's dictated back to the government. That's how that works. It's not the other way around. But countries like Canada, UK, Australia, Ireland, um, Germany, France, and so forth. A lot of your countries in the world do not have a constitution. They have what they call privileges. And the privileges are barked out to the people. See what I'm saying? We have freedom of speech, freedom of religion, and freedom of the press. That's the First Amendment rights, if you don't know anything else. Second Amendment rights, the right to bear arms. We have that right. It's in our Constitution. We have a right to, the petition, basically to form peaceful demonstrations peacefully, right? And then also, too, to form militias, right? They are there as a safeguard in case if the government, it's a reminder to the government. This is why the Second Amendment, it should have been a first, in my opinion, but this is one of the main reasons as to why, ladies and gentlemen, that the Second Amendment rights are so important. It's a reminder to the government if you ever go rogue, the people are to correct it. And this is why, if you notice, there has been a war on guns, right? Because progressives hate guns. You know why? Because once you give up your right for your gun, you are inviting totalitarian ruler. You think communism is bad? It's worse than communism. It's a totalitarian system where they control how you eat, where you go, how you live. Think about what I'm saying now. Think about what I'm saying. What you may want, and I pray to God that you understand about the Constitution. Because the people that do not it's more understandable for people that are not Americans. They're in these other countries, so they are used to the government telling them what to do. We in America are not. I don't like the fact that that the government can dictate to me that I have to have a CPL license to carry a gun. The Second Amendment right says that we don't need no other laws on top of that. It's weird, but we know why. Because once again, progressives want total totalitarian system. Right? Trying to say that tongue twister. That's what they believe in. Total control. To make a long story short. But yeah, I appreciate you guys rocking with me, man. Yep. Let me see here. You ever heard about Mr. Moody? Yeah, the Indian Prime Minister, Mr. Moody. Yeah, I heard. Yeah, I know who that is. And speaking of that, I'm going a little bit into tariffs. I don't want to go too far off, but this is another thing that Trump was saying. Because before the tariffs was ever implemented in America, it was an unfair business transaction with these nations, these countries around the world. Look at India. India was taking advantage of America. We can bring in their products with little to no tariffs at all. But if we tried to sell in India, I believe we were getting hit as high as 200%. Now, that isn't right. But India also, they don't like Trump. Moody came over here. And Moody is not careful now because, again, India, they need our market. China needs the American market. We can go and name every nation in the world. You want to play here, you have to pay by the rules. This is how it is. You know, that's exactly how it is. And I'm just talking about that for what I know. I may not know all of the stuff that's going on, though. I know there's some other things with him and things like that. Him, China, and some other people. You know what I'm saying? But they think that they're going to circumvent of what Trump have already told them. They are sadly mistaken. Because what's going to end up happening is They're going to pay higher on those tariffs. And I would say this: I think that those tariffs should have been hit stricter with India. India didn't pay no. They didn't care about us Americans. We couldn't play in their market, but they can play in ours. No, that was totally unfair. I'm against that. Just like if you believe India first, you know, you may want to start with your sanitation issue. You may want to start educating your people in India, right? Talking about for Moody. You may want to start educating your people on civil sense. Know what that means. Civil sense, right? Because everybody has a role in keeping their community, keeping their cities, and keeping their country clean and keeping it nice and tidy. They got so much work to be done in India, they don't even have time for all this other Mickey Mouse stuff. Get your country together first. There's no reason for that. There's no reason for that. If you are sitting on a nuclear capability, that means that you also should be concerned in dealing with the issues. Now, I'm sure they are trying to work on the issues in India, but yeah, these are some major health concerns. These are things that I know about far as with India already. You guys have a lot. I ain't talking about you per se, but there is a lack of civil sense when it comes down to certain countries in the world, and India is one of them. They do not share any type of responsibility amongst each other. They figure in their mindset, it's like a backwards type of thinking to say what somebody else will do. I throw trash out, somebody else will pick it up. That's ignorant. That's ignorant, right? All right. So, what about ACA? What about Obama starts? Can you please repeat what India needs? Yeah, I repeat it again. India has to concentrate, in my opinion, because they have a health issue right now in their country when it comes down to sanitation, right? We're talking about a civic sense duty that every person in India must embrace. Not the few, but the many. Just like in most other civilized societies, we have a thing called we have sanitation systems. We just not just putting trash out there with no caps on it, stainless steel, so forth, things that won't cause a problem because when there's a problem, you start creating rodents, varmints, and other type of issues. Pollution in the water. There's no reason in the world. There we have restrooms all over the place. And if it sounds like I'm coming down, I'm not. I'm just stating it for what I've seen. Because I visited a lot of they call it Indian fatigue, where you have Indian people from India that are complaining about their own people, trying to educate them on civic sense, right? I mean, we're in America, we're long past that. Yeah, of course, there's some littering here and there, but we also have a sanitation system that take care of that. I try to do my part as best as I can not to litter. I don't throw stuff out the window. People do it here in America too. That's why they got to have the people that work in these halfway houses and all this other stuff. They got to go out there, clean up on the side of the freeways and roads. You just got people anywhere. There's always going to be a group of people and people in general that just throw stuff out the window instead of just putting it in the trash. Just like we have a civic sense in America that everyone must follow. But in the lower incomes, less education, it's been given a pass to litter versus in other areas, they don't do that stuff. We got littering fines. Maybe India should start having more littering fines, put up more cameras. I don't know. But you have to do your part in order to make your country better for everyone. You know, y'all get tourists, that come over there to India. And I'm going to say this, it ain't all good, if you know what I mean. You may be from India, and this ain't no dig or diss. I'm just saying, though, yeah, I just say that y'all have work to do. Because India could be a very beautiful country. You guys you got a long history. You have 50,000 years of history in India alone, right? You guys are one of the first developed nations in the throughout the world is India. So I'm sure you produce more engineers, more doctors, more learned people in India, right? We know America is not perfect. We know India is not perfect. But at the same time, it starts with the average person. It starts with civil sense, understanding what that is. Teach it in the young children first. This would be my opinion, because I'm not from India, obviously. But if I were, I would say that in India, and I know this is going off topic. I'm gonna go back and bring it back in. It has to start with the youth, the younger children. One thing I respect about the Chinese, Japanese, and Koreans, they have a philosophy that it starts as young as the children. That way the children can go in there. They don't have janitors over there. The children understands civil sense. They know that they have to play, all of them play a role with each other. They all are responsible, right? Of cleaning up their area, making sure, right? But please come to India. Um, you know, Debrita is, yeah, yeah. Sound like you're from India. Well, I appreciate it though. Like I said, I'm not opposed to wanting to visit. I like to travel. You know, um, you can relate this to other people, other fellow Indians though. Debrita, you can do that. I mean, stuff that I've been saying, it's just common sense stuff. You can relate this whole channel over to your fellow Indians, you know, and let them know some of the talking points that I've been talking about here when it comes down to civic sense and what that really means. In fact, let's go in and go over it real quick. We can go over civic sense real quick. Let me pull this up here. Hold on for a minute. Give me one moment here. I'm going to read the true definition of what it is. Civic sense, right? As soon as this thing connects, I may not be connected to the internet. Yeah, I may not be connected to the internet right now on my other phone. That's all right. But I just wanted to, I think I kind of explained what that is, though, in a sense. It don't have to be drawn out, detailed information. Wait a minute, I may have something here. Just give me one moment here. I still see stuff is downloading down. Um, yeah, I really want you guys, because like I said, though, Debrita, all you got to do is share this information with your other fellow brethren in India. I'm not a hater of India and all this other stuff. Every society has work to do. They got things that need to be done. You know what I'm saying? I mean, yeah, I can't find it right now. I ain't gonna worry about that. Yep, because I got stuff that let me see. Debrita says, yeah, we have lots of things, but jobs are not likely like us. Yeah. Have you heard about Nepal? Just a little bit. Thank you so much. You gave me lots of time. Yeah, I'm just saying though, you can start right away by formulating a community, get together and start formulating and educating your people in India. Because the thing that I see that the biggest problem in India is the civic sense. You have to explain and get them on board. So therefore, this can be taught at the children level. So that way they can learn and grow up, and taking responsibility for their own part. Everybody got a part in society. By keeping it clean and tidy, it's a first step. That therefore you have less things like hepatitis B and so forth. Or I'm sorry, yeah, hepatitis A, I think it is. Which one? Hepatitis A or B? I think it's the one hepatitis A. I think it is. We don't want to spread less of the germs, right? By teaching this type of stuff. You teach it to the children at the educational levels, at the smallest levels, K-12 and up. And then you also want to get out here and put together some type of group. This should be hammered. You guys can do this and let this information spread throughout India. You have too much of a beautiful country and a rich history to let it go all the way because of sanitation issues. That's what I'm just saying. Debrita says, sorry, sir, it's nice to talk to you, but it's 4:30 a.m. in the morning. I know, right? Let's talk tomorrow. Sure, you are welcome, Debrita. And I really appreciate it, though, too. Anytime I can basically be able to help, because I am familiar, not with everything in India, but I am familiar with some of the things that I've seen where there's a backlash of it, and it's coming down to the sanitation part of it. But other than that, get some rest. I got to go as well too. I got to get ready to head on out of here. I think we covered everything regards to that. I don't know enough about Moody other than some things. I've never met him personally, but you don't have to need Moody's permission before you go in order to some of the things that I suggested that you guys can do, because that's a grassroots issue. You'll be surprised, but you'll find that that can be corrected more so than trying to take it up with Moody. You don't have to do that, you know. But everybody got to play their role, right? To making sure that things are nice and tidy, right? But other than that, Debrita says, then, sir, I have to be the politician there. Well, do your best, Debrita. Do your best, and things like that. But I got faith in you because I do believe that you really want the best for India. Nothing wrong with that. Just like I want the best for America. That's why I speak out. I educate, you know. I talk to people. Even as an Uber, I talk to people. I touch people all over though, as far as talking with them. If they can accept or what I'm saying, if they can embrace common sense and logic, I believe that we are on our way. All right, guys, I'm about to go ahead and shut this live stream down. You guys have been great. I really appreciate you guys. This is a topic that needs to be talked about. I appreciate you. Debrita says, in every state, we have that sanitation problem. Yeah, we do. Yeah. If you look at it, we have it more so in the lower income areas. It always been an issue. I grew up around issues like that. So I'm very versed on that, you know what I'm saying? And that we have varmints and rodents and things run up and down the alleys and stuff. All this stuff can be minimized due to people getting more involved when it comes down to sanitation and stuff, keeping our areas clean and safe. Debrita says, so I don't know, sir, what I do? Go back into what I was talked about, Debrita. Once I shut this down, go back and play it slowly and take some of the ideas that I was mentioning, right? You could also look at how the Japanese, Chinese, and Korean licked that problem. You know, I mean, there's a lot of things on there on YouTube of showing you their process of how they were able to get the young youth on board and keeping their classrooms clean. And it starts at a very young age on up. You got a lot of information out there, Debrita. You got a lot of information out there. So I thank you for coming on the live stream. I'm going to shut this down. If we can get one more like to make it 10 at least, I appreciate it. Therefore, people can go out here and listen and hear what, and get this information out. Because I think this is the crux of what we're talking about here. The people that we're dealing with here, we're dealing with far left progressives, as I stated before. This is the problem. This is the problem, right? So other than that, ladies and gentlemen, you enjoy. Brita says, because only I'm 23 years old, but yeah, I would try to clean our area though. Yeah, that's all you got to do. That's all you got to do, right? Uh, yeah, Kite says they're leaving Chicago. They're scared. Oh yeah, I would love to talk more about. Are you talking about the military? You talking about the military? It says AG Bondi announced it. All right. Yeah, I haven't been keeping up. I just know that they went in there. I'm gonna have to look more into it, and things like that. But not that they're scared, but You have a mayor and a governor that refuse to work with the president. The president wants to send the troops, but if they don't want the help, because we know, here's the thing about it, Yatel, before I go. The reason is simply this. The far left progressives rely on crime and violence to get funding that goes back in their pockets. It don't trickle down into the city. It doesn't go bottom up, it goes top into their pockets. That's why they don't want the military there. And then they're using the illegals there because those are the new slaves of the future that could be able to minimize and do the work that the Americans can't do anymore. This is exactly what's going on, man. You know what I'm saying? This is exactly what's going on, you know? But it's more about the funding because they can try to beg the government and say, yeah, crime is out of control. We need more money. We need more funds. LA, California been pulling that scam. Not only them, but a lot of these 20 of these Democratic led states, 19 of them have been doing this stuff, you know? They have been doing this stuff. It's all about the funding. They pocket the money. The poor in these communities, in these Black and Hispanic communities, they don't see this stuff. Black and brown, that's why this is still a war zone in some of these areas. They're pocketing all the money and trying to say that it's other than what they're really doing. That's the crux of it. That's what they're seriously doing. That's what they're doing. Isn't California begging for money now? I thought they were begging for money. These were the same people that begged for talking about they were gonna get the high speed rail system that never been built. This was years ago. It never broke any ground whatsoever. I think it was what was it, Biden or one of them that gave so many millions of it, and it never saw the day. And I can mention other places like this. They do not want the crime. They want the crime to stay where it is. This is not about fixing America. This is about, like parasites living off of misery of other people. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, Elon's idea, but it never saw the time of day. Whoever it was, it never saw the time of day. They got the funding for it, but what happened to all that money? That's what you got to ask. What happened to all that money? It didn't go into the light rail system, whatever. It went in their pockets. Let's be real about this stuff. They had no intention of building the rail system anyway. That's part of the scam. You know what I'm saying? Look at our roadways and our infrastructures, and I can point to you to Singapore. I can point to China, Japan, Korea. There's a lot of these places that their infrastructures are like living in the future, man. You can go to Chongqing, China, right? They have host 20 million people in Chongqing alone. They got like mountains and stuff, roads going through mountains and everything. And we can't seem to even build a road. I mean, it's ridiculous, man. It makes no sense. It makes no sense other than them stealing the money. But we're talking about far left progressives. As I said earlier, go back to the channel once I'm done. You'll hear everything from the top down. And that's what people are not talking about. Just like I cited, right? Brandon Johnson, J.B. Pritzker, these are progressive far leftists. They're not by themselves. Michelle Wu is a far left progressive out of Boston, right? Boston, Massachusetts. Michelle Wu. We're going to name them. One in New York. Kathy Hochul, I believe. Far progressive left. Gavin Knucklehead Newscomb, far left progressive. We're going to keep naming them. And unfortunately, these are the one that controls and run most of your cities. They're not getting shit done. They are the problem. Right? That's exactly what it is. Right? This is exactly what it is. So other than that, I'm about to get ready to head on out of here. I appreciate you coming on here as well. What's her name? Oh man, what's her name? Debrita, yeah, from India. And Yakel, you too, man. I appreciate you for coming on. Don't be a stranger. I get one more like, I'll be great. But I'm gonna have to shut it down, man. It's time for my dinner. I gotta go ahead and get out here and make some money. And things. You guys have a wonderful Thursday, going into the Friday. Enjoy this warm weather while we still can. And I appreciate a lot of you guys rocking with your boy. All I offer is common sense and logic to all of the progressive left, far left madness. This is not a party of liberals anymore. It is far worse, and they have destroyed their own party, and we're seeing it live and direct. But other than that, ladies and gentlemen, you guys take care. Peace.